Hello Turtles! Welcome to another episode of Outside Game Dev. We're going to be taking a walk through Perry Holbrook State Park and discussing, should Steam be charging more to actually list our games, or is the price fair? All of this discussion I'm about to have is definitely subjective, and that's up to the market to decide, right? Like, if players want to buy the game, they can buy the game. If they don't want to buy the game, they kind of ignore the game. Would it make your game easier to sell if there were less games on Steam? And would there be less games on Steam if Valve or Steam charged $1,000 per entry? Would that improve the quality of games on Steam? If Steam lifts its price up to $1,000, does that make it so that only good games get on Steam? Good is very subjective. And it doesn't really depend on what a game looks like or even how it plays. It's just subjective. Some people are going to think games are crap even though other players love it, right? For example, is Accelerate a good game? Accelerate's my own game. Sales would indicate that it probably isn't. At least from what I've gathered, it plays pretty well. But I'm also a bit biased as a developer. And I don't know. Is it a good game? The objective in lifting up the price would be to get rid of shovelware or asset flips or games that it's hard to say whether the developer is actually giving an honest attempt in making a good game. Games that are just getting thrown up on there for no, I don't know. They change a couple assets and they've got a different game and they're selling them. I don't know what that business model is. The shovelware I'm talking about are people releasing 5 or more games every month, and I'm not even joking. I've been looking at racing games and driving games for the past 3 years. Every month I'll go through and collect what racing games were released that month, and there are times when a single developer releases 5 racing games or driving games in a single month. How is that even possible? That's more than one a week. Anyway, let's continue this hike. We've got a ledge to climb. For the sake of this video, let's argue that Steam should increase the price to $1,000. What are some reasons that you might say we shouldn't do that? You might say, I'm a hobbyist, and I don't want to pay $1,000 just to put my game up on Steam. And my question to you then would be, if you're a hobbyist creating games for the creation's sake, not to make money from them, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be able to make money as a hobbyist, but that's not the end goal, right? So I would argue that you probably don't need to put your game on Steam as a hobbyist. There's itch.io, there's other platforms, there's other ways to share your games. And some of those ways even include making money. Another argument might be that your local currency is terrible and $1,000 is just completely unrealistic, where even $100 is hard for you, but you can make it happen. In that situation, I would say Steam should probably make that fee localized, just like they do with their games. When we sell our games, we can already specify different prices for different regions, and that's all Steam needs to do. Just localize the listed fee, and that problem's solved. Although one argument could be made that players already have a lack of trust in the offering as is. They already have to pick and choose and do research. And or what actually happens is the algorithm doesn't really show them stuff that doesn't actually get reviews. So that's why it's so important to be doing marketing outside of Steam. What does Steam actually provide us as small indies? It's a whole nother topic that I hadn't considered before starting this video. Even when I did the outline and everything, I hadn't really considered that, but Steam is providing payments and the whole system that, like a storefront that players trust. If in the older days, and even still currently, if you have a physical copy of a game, you might want to get your game at Walmart, right? Because lots of people will go shopping at Walmart, they'll see your game and good chances of buying it. That is providing value. But with Steam, the players don't get to browse that shelf unless your game is already popular. Like, that's the only time you're actually visible up there, is if your game is already popular. If you've got enough reviews, you're already making sales. So what does it actually provide as a small indie? And the answer is not nothing, okay? I don't want to make it sound like Steam isn't doing anything for us, because it certainly is. It should be doing more for it costing us money to get there. It can't do that because of the sheer number of games released every day. An increased listing price might actually help with that problem, but it also may have already been too late. Players already have trust issues with the games that are on there. They have to sort through some cruft. And like I said, they probably don't see it anyway because of the way the system works. And who's to say what the cruft is? You know what I mean? That goes back to the subjectivity and what is or isn't a good game. And I don't think the storefront should be deciding that. I don't think I, or really anybody, has any real say over what is or isn't a good game. That's kind of the market to decide, as I was saying before. People will either buy the game or they won't. They'll share it with their friends or they won't. That's the stuff that's going to determine whether a game is worthwhile or not on a store. And those are also the games that tend to be shared on Steam. How to make one of those games is a whole nother story. I swear. I'm not under witness protection or anything. I'm all good. This trail is quite rocky, though. Doing a lot of rock hopping, and it's fun. You should get out and try it sometime. Or just enjoy the videos that I create. Share them with other developers. It does help. And now it's time to go up the hill a little bit to get up to the overlook. So far the trail has been very flat. I want one of my games to be successful someday. It is extremely hard. It's not just make a good game. I've been struggling recently. I'm trying to find the next idea that I'm going to work on. And I want to really understand what is going to provide value to a player, why they're going to want to play my game, and I want to go into this next game with confidence that it has something special. I have confidence I can make a good game. I have zero confidence I can sell it. That's the truth. And that's the part that I actually need to be working on a lot more in my adventure. I need to get more confidence that after making a good game, I'll be able to sell it to enough people that that game will pay for my cost of living during making it. If the Steam price increased to $1,000, wouldn't that just pass the price on to the players? I don't think it would increase the cost of our games to players as long as Valve gave back the money after a certain threshold. I think that would be basically the same situation we're in now. And yeah. This is Long Pond, which is another one of the ponds here in Perry Holbrook State Park. I think it's the one we get to look down over once I get up to the top. Pricing games is a very hard subject. It's hard to know what is the right price for a game. I think overall we tend to undervalue our games, possibly even me included, but with so many games to choose from, what keeps a player from picking a $1 game that looks like it's going to have value versus a $20 game? What is to say that that $20 game actually has more value? One of the main reasons I would argue that this should happen is because it would require people to believe in their game. Now, $100 is a lot to some people and less to others. But as I was going with games as a business, $100 is really a tiny cost. It's negligible in the grand scheme of things. I'm spending way more on my cost of living than what I would pay to release games on Steam every month. Even if I released a game on Steam every month, that would still be a drop in the bucket of my overall cost as a business. Okay, let's take a seat. It's a nice overlook. You get to view two of the ponds down there, Long Pond and I think Round Pond is the other name. Anyway, I'm not actually suggesting that Valve or Steam should actually be charging $1,000 per game entry. I want that clear. I'm not actually arguing for this. I'm just kind of giving some thoughts, right? I don't think it would solve the shovelware issue, at least not for people that are super wealthy. Like, they can afford it anyway, so it's not like $1,000 is going to hurt them. Would it even solve the problem, or would it just move the bar so that it costs a little bit more to put the game on, and people doing asset flips or shovelware just pay anyway? Would it just be preventing good games from reaching players in the first place? Some developers can't afford the $1,000 even though they made a good game, and they got the game on Steam and maybe it found an audience. It could make it harder for upcoming developers that haven't really got any footing in the market, possibly including myself. Like, I'm starting to get a small audience that know that I make racing games. That's mostly thanks to me doing Twitch and a little bit of YouTube here, but increasing that listing price isn't necessarily going to make it easier to find your player base. You know what I mean? Like, it's still going to be, the algorithm already sorts most of the shovelware and asset flips out simply based on the reviews. If you don't get enough reviews, you don't get out of that crufty area. I have a feeling that my games are still falling in the crufty area, and I need to figure out how to lift them out. A little earlier in this video, I was talking about my struggles finding what my next project will be, and I've got a really great process to figure that out. I am just having some troubles finding what would be attractive to an audience. So if you want to learn more about that process, check out the next video in the Outside Game Dev series. And if you're enjoying the series, let me know in a comment below. Leave a question if you have one. Maybe I can cover it in another video. Leave a thumbs up, share the video with others, and until later, turtles, have a good one.